why it's time to believe in something greater, why it's time to believe in the greatest of possibilities. And to believe in the greatest of possibilities, we have to believe in the greatest truth of who we are, where we are, and when we truly are. From a place of thinking for ourselves, creating for ourselves. Because many people are believing in lesser realities, lesser truths, lesser versions of themselves. Not just lesser versions of ourselves, but false versions of ourselves, based on false premises, false self-image. So, it's about stepping in to the greatest of possibilities, and part of that is creating and co-creating the greatest of possibilities. Of course, if we believe in what we're told in mainstream culture, in mass thinking, through the media, there are all kinds of negative stories. Negative stories to do with seeing humanity negatively, seeing ourselves negatively, seeing each other negatively, seeing the world negatively, seeing a world of lack, seeing a world of scarcity, seeing a world of problems, seeing a world of pain and suffering on all different levels. If we believe in those levels of being as being absolute truth, then we settle for that reality and we just go along with it. This really is about not only thinking for ourselves. The greatest level of thinking is the creative mind, which is our imagination. Our most divine resource, resourcefulness, capacity is our imagination. Through our imagination, we are creating the paradigm that we live in. If we believe a certain thing about ourselves and the world, then we are using or misusing our imagination to believe in a certain capacity or level of possibilities for ourselves and reality. So it's important to avoid, to switch off all the lesser voices. Most importantly, the lesser voices of lesser truths within ourselves, and to step into the greatest truth that we have within ourselves. So let's invest a moment, because it's all about investing. Invest a moment in your greatest self-image. Your self-image in alignment with the divine image that has created you. We wouldn't be here without some creative force, some creative intelligence, some divinely creative intelligence that made the miracle of these bodies that we are lucky enough to have, that made the miracles of all the natural world, that made the miracles that helped human beings create all the constructed things in the world. It's time to believe in something better, because the lesser beliefs create the lesser realities, and the greater the distortion, the greater our suffering. The greater the distortion, the greater the deformation. And the more there is deformation in ourselves, the more there is deformation in the world. And we perceive that deformation. And this is really about transformation. Transformation into who we already truly are, here and now. So, if we asked ourselves to name what is the paradigm that we're living in right now. A lot of people might think, well, it's post-industrial, or some people might have been trained to say, it's the fourth industrial revolution. Some people might come up with some great things like it's the creative revolution or the entrepreneurial revolution. Indeed, it's a lot more of that thing. Some people might think, oh, the paradigm I live in the consumer paradigm. We're consumers in a consumer culture, and that's that. Well, if we're consumers, we're just victims of the outside world. We allow ourselves to just be formed from the outside in. We're here to form ourselves from the inside out. That is being creative. That is utilizing our imagination. So there's a principle of reverse engineering that could be applied to science, innovation, business, and entrepreneurship. To have a vision and an inspiration of what we would love, what we would choose and decide upon, and from that vision, reverse engineering it into the present moment to see what are the next steps in front of us. So likewise, we can reverse engineer our paradigms and our experiences of reality. What could be the greatest paradigm of all paradigms possible for us as individuals and for humanity and all life in this realm? Ponder on that for a second. And let us remember that there are some of the most inspiring stories about the origin of humanity is that we're created by an intelligent creator. And that intelligent creator put us inside a paradise garden where everything existed in abundance for free. Now, this is not some socialist thing, but for us to be aware of the infinite abundance that we are surrounded by, the infinite miracles that we're surrounded by, the infinite miracle that we are that gives us the ability to appreciate the infinite miracles we're surrounded by on the outside. And this really is a lot more fun and a lot more fulfilling. So, upon investigating, which I have invested a great deal of myself into, what is the greatest possible of realities? And if we study this and investigate this and explore this, we can begin to consider the paradigm of paradise, which of course a lot of humanity has not done for a long time because they've been brainwashed to think that paradise is a illusory fantasy, a utopian fantasy, a spiritual religious fantasy, a delusion, unattainable, unrealistic. There's a great quote that paradise is not a place, paradise is a state of mind by Sri Chinmoy. Well, we can do better than that. Paradise can be a place. Paradise was designed to be a place, but that place only exists when we have paradise consciousness. And we could call that a paradise mind, but the mind can be many things. The mind's greatest capacity is to be a creative mind, which is an appreciative, thankful, grateful mind. And when the mind is appreciative, grateful, and thankful, it is a creative mind, which is our imagination. And with our imagination, we can consider, meditate upon, and be inspired by, well, what does paradise look like? What does paradise think like? What words construct the reality of paradise? Which words obstruct the reality of paradise? Which thoughts and beliefs allow the flow of paradise inspiration, paradise possibilities, and which thoughts and beliefs obstruct and resist that? So, the more we cultivate a paradise state of consciousness, which is to be creatively activated on all levels, starting with our imagination, allowing our inspiration and our intuition to flow, the more we are thankful, grateful, and appreciative for every aspect of ourselves and every aspect of our lives and all life, we see the divine perfection. Not the kind of perfectionism that causes sickness from a place of rigid, uptight hoping, striving, struggling. Paradise is something that we can surrender ourselves into, that we can relax ourselves into, that we can align and allow ourselves to experience. When we stop thinking heavy, resistant thoughts made up of heavy, resistant words and the symbols that they speak to and the beliefs, then we start to feel lighter. And lighter feeling emotions are all more thankful. Heavier feeling emotions are all more unthankful. So, as paradise is revealed, which is really seeing the divine perfection in ourselves, seeing it and celebrating it. The more we can see it and celebrate it in each other and in the whole world. And the more of this thankfulness that happens, the more this unveiling of divine perfection is revealed, the more we celebrate the miracles that we are and the miracles that everyone is and the miracles that life is. And yes, if we're fixated on all the pain and suffering in the world, and we ask questions like, well, if there's a God, then why is all this happening? That question in itself is not looking to appreciate the miracles, the blessings, the reminders, the teachings, and the gifts that help us see a deeper, higher, broader, greater, even the greatest possible of realities. We all have access to the divine mind, which is a mind of thankfulness, gratitude, appreciation. It is the creative mind of the imagination. And through this, we open a portal to seeing from the divine mind, or seeing more in alignment with the divine mind, with greater understanding and wisdom, which are really, again, the results of gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation. And really, it's a practice. We all are aware of this stuff, but how many thoughts in our day are thankful thoughts, and how many thoughts in our day are unthankful or resentful thoughts? And every 0.01 of a percentage that we readjust those scales and those balances towards more and more thankfulness rather than unthankfulness, the more beauty we see, the more beauty we create and perpetuate on all levels. The beauty and the miracle of our relationships, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with the Creator, our relationship with all our relatives, family relatives, friendship relatives, creative work relatives, all the relatives in embodied form, and all the relatives that have ever been or will ever be. It's about being able and open to thinking bigger and bigger, thinking, as I like to call it, the biggest picture thinking. Can we always be open to receiving and perceiving the greatest, the biggest picture thinking? It's about being open to receiving the blessings of that, the gifts of that, the crystal clarity in our mind of that, that allows us to alchemize and transform any pain and suffering in any area of our lives. And the greatest gift that we can give to solve the pain and suffering that appears to be in the world and many people's lives is to transform our own pain and suffering, which goes from being ungrateful about ourselves and everyone and everything in our lives to grateful. There's an African proverb that goes something along the lines of, those who bow to greatness pave their way to it. Now, I did come up with a better version of that I have not memorized, but really, those who bow to greatness pave their way to it. It's not about bowing to greatness on the outside. We can only bow to greatness on the outside when we bow to greatness on the inside, which is really communing with the true self. Not the false self, the persona, Greek for mask. Not the color of our skin, not whether we're male or female, not our age. Communing with the presence of the true self that really is the omnipresence, the omniscience, and the omnipotence of the divine, which is all that there really is once we investigate it. That is the truth of all that is. That doesn't mean that people can, ourselves, we can be resisting the divine perfection of all that is, and then we create shadow versions and distortions and deformations of all that is, and think them to be more real than what is truly real, the essence of who we are. So, why it's time to believe in something better. That goes for every aspect of our reality. If we believe what we see in the media, if we believe what we see in the alternative media, if we believe in the fear-based narratives that might be playing on auto-repeat in us or in the world or in people around us, if we believe invest in believing in heavy realities, limited realities, as being truth, then we're really dishonoring the truth of who we are. We're here to be creators and co-creators. And that is really just so much more fulfilling, satisfying, and fun. So my experience has been, and I feel probably the experience of a lot of people, we're all aware of this word, this symbol, this idea, paradise. And when we're babies and children, and when we're in the womb and before that, there's a good chance that we're a lot more aware of and appreciative of the paradigm of paradise. But as we become acclimatized to this realm and the people living in it, who also once were aware of and believed more in paradise. But as this gets obscured through being surrounded by people that don't believe, they don't believe in it because they resist it, because they're trained to resist it, because everyone is resisting the greatest of possible realities to one degree or another. And training ourselves to close ourselves off to it, to resist it, to not believe in it, to believe in the monsters, literal and metaphorical, in our world. The monsters of poverty, the monsters of suffering, the monsters of war, the monsters of the banking system, the financial system, the economic system. the monsters of degenerative disease, the monsters of loneliness and separation, and the destruction of relationships and families. Every time we feed a lesser story within ourselves and the world, we bring that into fruition in our experience. So it's all about asking greater and greater questions. Asking questions that open up possibilities, that open up portals to greater paradigms that already exist within us and around us. But as long as we've been resisting them, then the only way to dissolve that resistance is open a portal within it. And that every portal is a portal of appreciation and thankfulness, of openness. And each question is a portal. So we can ask ever more beautiful questions. Every question that inspires at least hope, if not downright inspiration, possibilities, to continually be asking amazing questions that open up these doors, open up these portals, open up resistance, open up the flow of genius and crystal clarity and the vitality, the high energy of those thoughts that are so much more high energy than anxious, angry, and depressed thoughts. And from those more inspiring thoughts, we feel more inspiring feelings. And from those more inspiring feelings, we make greater lifestyle choices. We choose to invest in creating greater realities. We choose to invest in creating the greatest reality in every possible aspect of our lives. It really is that simple, to take the reins, to take ownership and responsibility and initiative, to own our minds, to think for ourselves, to break free of all the lies and the distortions that perpetuate pain and suffering inside us and all around us. This is an eternal journey that's a lot more fun and fulfilling when we focus in the direction and in alignment with the most beautiful of possibilities, the most beautiful of inspirations, the most beautiful of creations. We are all here to create. We weren't born to consume. And when we do consume and receive, we can consume consciously. We can invest consciously, so that the choices we make are not only pleasing to ourselves, to our Creator, and are of service to our siblings in the broader sense, but create a better world, create fulfillment in following our purpose. Things that also have medium and long-term benefits and blessings for all beings. What if the greatest levels and nature of reality is that every thought we think, every feeling we feel, and every decision and lifestyle choice that we make could benefit ourselves and all beings? Isn't that the greatest of possibilities? Doesn't that point from and towards the paradigm of paradise? Can we be open to exploring that, investigating that, investing in the true self that is that. Each and every day, with our practices, with how we think, how we write, how we create, the words we use, the stories we tell, the feelings we tune into, the inspiration we tune into, the intuition we tune into, the imagination that we utilize, how we breathe, our physiology, how we move, how we eat, how we feast and how we fast, how we hydrate ourselves, how we let go of, release, and transform trapped emotions so that we align ourselves with the true creative genius, intelligence, and fruition that we all came here to perpetuate, so that we can enjoy the most empowering lifestyle, not only for ourselves, but for all beings. Surely that's possible. Surely it's worthy of us looking into it. Okay, well, I trust that everyone here is doing that, because it's our true nature. And if you can explain or express a better true nature, please go ahead. If anyone is open to a debate or a conversation on whether the truest, greatest nature of reality is paradise or not, I welcome it. Let's put it to the test. Let's ask the questions that lead to better questions, and better questions that open up possibilities and solutions rather than restrict them or restrain them. This is Joel Gazda for the School of Paradise. We run regular courses, workshops, adventures, journeys into investigating, exploring, aligning with the power of the paradigm of paradise to activate all areas of our lives, our relationships, our finances, our abundance, our vitality, our thriving, and our health, our regenerative health, so that we're always regenerating with invincible vitality rather than degenerating in the lies and the distortions that are in resistance to the greatest news and the greatest stories and the greatest realities of all time that are ready and waiting to come pouring through us. Okay, stay beautiful, stay blessed, stay wild, stay free, stay sovereign, stay appreciative. Keep celebrating. Lots of love to everyone. Ciao for now.